I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
Welcome to episode 110 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 59 of City Hunter, titled, Ryo Educates in a Spartan Way, A Bad King Raised in a Harem, Part 2.
Not a bad continuation from last episode, really easy to digest.
We were kind of mentioning this last time, that as the episode titles are kind of split into two sentences, this is the second sentence, because there was no Spartan training last time. It's all in this episode.
So really, the first episode should have been, you know what? A bad king raised in a harem. It should have been the second part of the sentence first, and then the second episode should have been Ryo Educates in a Spartan Way. This is the episode that is Ryo Educates in a Spartan Way.
Correct. Yeah, that's more what it is. They should have flipped the title.
Yeah, that's how that goes.
And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but we just want to talk about two little things, well, one bigger than the other, before we actually get started. So a couple of people showed us over on Twitter, but I had already seen it over on YouTube. There's this one content creator by the name of Studio ALF. They do a lot of Annie song covers, some Tokusatsu opening thing covers. They recently did a Get Wild cover, which wasn't too bad. I liked it.
I believe they're Korean, but they still do a lot of covers of Japanese content.
Yes. It's not the original key. It's one of the ones in one of the later movies that's pitched up a different key.
I think it's actually pitched down. Well, no, it might be.
No, I'm pretty sure it's up.
Whatever. It's in a different key. It really does sound exactly like the version that's in one of these later animated films that also is sung by a woman, and it's in the same key. It's different kind of instrumentation. I don't know who does their instrumentation on their channel. It
says on the YouTube channel, I forgot to read who does it, but they have somebody, do a different, or not original, a recreation, put together all of the instrumentation for each track that they cover. But, it's nice. You guys can go check that out over on YouTube right now.
That's a thing you can do. Also, though, we've got a little bit more news about that Netflix City Hunter movie, and I guess it really is just a movie. I feel like when this first got announced, we were under the impression that it was going to be a short series, but as news continues to come out, they continue to say the word movie, so I guess that's all it is. It's just a movie, which I feel like there's too much content to fit into just a movie. Netflix really should have gone for the series.
They really could have, and maybe we don't know. It could be a thing where if it does well enough, maybe they could be persuaded to do a short-run series.
A multi-film thing would be good.
They could do that too. I would love to see more films.
Yeah.
If this does well. But we do have a date.
Was it April 25th?
Correct. Over on April 25th, globally, that'll be available on Netflix. And on top of getting an air date, we actually also have two new cast members. We have Fumino Kimura as Sayeko, and we have Masanobu Ando as the elder late Makimura.
Hideyuki Makimura.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's something to note here, because they have an updated cast photo of all the individuals that we have so far. Ryo, Kaori, now Sayeko, and Makimura. And Makimura noticeably is now wearing like a collared bomber jacket in place of his traditional trench coat. But now Sayeko is wearing the trench coat.
Because I guess we can't have 3 people in a trench coat out of the 4 people they have displayed on this picture. Like, we've given Ryo a trench coat, which is fine. Like, in the manga, he more often wears a trench coat than he does that blue blazer.
Which he's known for from the anime.
The anime is very like, oh no, we can't put him in a bajillion different clothes. We have to pick something. So we picked a blue blazer.
You can see in some of the openings, especially there in, I think it's Go-Go Heaven, that they have him in the trench coat. And early on in the first season, he wore it like once or twice.
Well, also in City Hunter 3, they started leaning a little bit more towards an aesthetic that looks a lot more like the manga does.
Right.
Which, actually, I hate it in anime form. It looks awful in anime form.
Well, yeah, because the animation's gonna change completely almost.
Yeah, it looks real bad. But, that having been said, so, like, if we had put Makimura into a trench coat, then 3 of these people would be in trench coats, but did Sayeko need the trench coat? Like, we took it off of Makimura and we gave it to Sayeko.
That's how it feels.
Why did we do that?
Yeah, because it's like Sayeko, we more often than not see her in like a blazer over a dress.
Right? Which it looks like she may still be doing under that trench coat.
Yeah, because under the trench coat, we see the right color costume. Like, it's there. We see the little bit of like lavender bender underneath the coat lapel. So she's wearing it, seemingly.
Meanwhile, like everybody else has multiple different outfits that they can wear that they've been seen wearing throughout the anime and the manga. But Mokkimura only exists for like 5 episodes in the beginning, and then he exists in some flashbacks, and he is next to never seen without his trench coat.
Save for like 2 little scenes.
Right. There's one scene in like episode 2 or 3 where he's in his own apartment, and it's the only time we see his apartment, and Kaori apparently still lives there.
Right.
And he's cooking breakfast, and he's wearing an apron. That is the only other outfit we've ever seen him wear.
And then there was like the one time they were both asleep, both him and Ryo, after a all-night bender. I think that was the only other time we didn't see him with the coat.
Yeah, because he was asleep.
Exactly. And looking at him here, it's not like you can't tell he's Mokkimura. Like, he's got the right glasses. He's got the right frame.
I'm just saying, we gave everybody else a trench coat except the guy that wears a trench coat.
Like the guy that literally, that's his thing. He has 3 things he's known for. The glasses, the trench coat, and getting shot.
And dying.
Yeah, that's
and
all
being dead.
That's all he's got.
Which, again, Takarazuka reminds you, he's very dead the entire time. In fact, he's a ghost. That's how dead he is.
But you know what they didn't forget? The trench coat.
They put him in a trench coat for that stage play. Live action Mokkimura, he's in a trench coat in the French film too for like the 2 seconds he's in it, right? Even the Jackie Chan City Hunter
for
puts
as much
him in a
shit
trench.
as we give that movie.
What the fuck?
They actually gave him the trench coat.
Oh no!
If we can say, but again, like we've always said, all the stuff that makes that movie City Hunter is front-loaded into like the first 5-10 minutes.
He's gone in 10 seconds.
Thereabouts,
he's there for like 25 seconds maximum.
He's there for the establishment of the story of how they've set up Kaori, and that's it.
But he's in a trench coat.
He is in a trench coat. So there's that. But now we have a date, and that's pretty soon, all things considered.
No, it really is. It's only like a month and a half or something away.
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. Okay, you're right. It's 2 months. I'm just thinking because February's a short month. But no, you're right.
Like in a couple hours, it'll be the 25th as we're recording this. So yeah, we're looking at 2 months out, which isn't that long. Like, we'll see how we're going to cover that, because I don't know that we should make you guys wait to cover it once it drops.
I feel like at this point, when new things come out, we can jump to the brand new things. But until the new things come out, we're just going to be going in kind of chronological order of release.
Right, which to kind of piggyback off that, we did decide after this episode comes out, we are going to shift away from an episode for a second from the show episodes, and we are going to jump to 357 Magnum.
Yeah, I think that is the smartest thing to do. And also 357 Magnum, I think, really matches the aesthetic of the rest of City Hunter 2 around it. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. Because kind of like we said, we're about to finish this season, and when City Hunter 2 ends, then it jumps to City Hunter 3, and it just looks way different.
Like, there was no difference. Like, when you get to the last episode of City Hunter 2, and we'll go over this again once we get there very shortly, they just tell you, City Hunter will continue next week as City Hunter 3.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, they just say, we're going into it, and then suddenly next week it's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, and then their art design's all different, their character designs are all different, they're painting differently, okay?
Yes.
Like, it's just so different after that.
You can tell we have some feelings about City Hunter 3.
I really don't like City Hunter 3 overall, honestly.
I mean, we're gonna go through it, and we do that to get through to the other City Hunter things that we like.
Yeah, like a lot of the movies are pretty good, you know? So, we got that to look forward to.
Yeah, so we will go ahead and talk more about that once we get into April, closer to that release over on Netflix. But for right now, let's go ahead and continue with this story in progress, which details the defending of Little King Nalio, who comes from a land where we don't know where that is. He has a harem, and currently his uncle wants to kill him Lion King style.
Lion King style? Yeah, okay, I guess so. Except everybody in the country seems to know that he did it, but we're not charging him with any crimes.
Now, I'm glad I wrote this down. Before we continue, so you guys might remember in our last episode, we were both pointing out that Kaori had a hammer that specifically had a weight of 109 tons.
And we were like, I wonder why that is.
Shibuya 109, is that what it is? And then we completely forgot That was episode 109.
Which, to be fair, it's City Hunter 2, so episode order, like, oh, well, that's number 58 or whatever. I wasn't thinking about it, unless you're counting City Hunter 1 and City Hunter 2 together.
In which case...
Because that matches our podcast release number of 109. We're about to get off count once we insert movies.
Which is kind of why I was trying to avoid that, just for my own sake.
But it was gonna happen anyway, because we were gonna eventually get to this movie. So,
yeah.
But if you are counting, like, all episodes put together, yes, that was episode 109.
And that was a shout out. It had to be a shout out to the fact that it was the 109th episode of City Hunter.
I mean, it could have been. We don't have confirmation, but it's pretty. That's a really high likelihood.
Occam's razor, all things being considered, the simplest explanation is usually the correct one.
It's probably that.
Yeah, so that's on us for not catching that in last week's episode. But we digress and we move on.
So hey, this kid is a dick because he's a king that thinks that he just deserves to have everything that he wants, and we're constantly trying to tell him, no, you can't just, like, take ice cream cones without paying for them, even though you don't know what money is in the first place.
And you got Rio telling him, hey, you can't assault Cowdy, that's my job.
So now that they're being attacked by women who have been hired, presumably by this uncle who wants to take over the country.
And Rio kinda messed up last week and almost let the kid hold a live grenade and get blown up.
That did happen. Anyway, now he's like, alright, fuck it. I'm taking you out to a cabin in the woods to learn how to be a man and defend yourself. And that's kind of where we left off, was them driving off in the Mini Cooper out to a cabin in the woods so they can go train together.
And that's exactly where the action picks up here at the beginning of the episode, where we see them on the highway, and they are currently being followed, both Rio and Nalio in the Mini Cooper, by the van full of women who want them dead.
I just want to point out, almost immediately, we're noticing, hey, the animation kind of looks normal now. Remember how last week everything looked really weird and kind of like Dragon Ball?
Yeah, we were noticing that last week the animation was off. Like, I guess whoever was in charge of character design was sick for a week or something like that.
Who knows? Like, that's a jump in, we don't know what happened there, but clearly they had a different lead animator or character designer last week or something, and now this week things look like, oh no, that's Rio's face. That's the way he's supposed to look.
Yeah, that's Cowdy's face. Like, everybody looks the way they should.
Yeah. So it's just weird that it happened in the middle of a two-parter.
Right, yeah.
Like, we could have stayed consistent throughout this one packaged story, and we didn't do that. I just think that's kind of funny.
So here in the car, of course, Nalio's throwing a bitch fit because he's a king and he doesn't need anyone to tell him what to do.
So Rio tells him, hey, buckle your seatbelt like you should.
Mind you, Rio's not wearing his.
But Rio is not wearing a seatbelt. But I guess he's like, well, kids at least should wear seatbelts.
And Nalio's screaming back at him, no, I'm the king, I don't need to. And I love Rio for this. He just seatbelt checks him, so he like swerves into another lane to ditch the van, and Nalio goes flying into the back seat.
Like, he could have really hurt the kid, but he was like, it'll be fine, but maybe then he'll man up and actually put on a seatbelt.
And so Rio's ducking through cars, he's passing semis, the van's getting further and further away.
This Mini Cooper's doing crazy things.
He's wall riding.
He's going up on an embankment.
A very steep embankment to get around like a semi or a delivery truck. And finally he gets enough room in between him and the van pursuing to pull away and get to where he needs to go.
And the women in that van are just like, well, damn it, we can't do that. I guess vans really, like, that would be a bit of a stretch to have a van try to go through that and come out unharmed.
Now, admittedly, based off the design, it does kind of look like the A-Team van, but it's not nearly as equipped as the A-Team van.
No, not nearly. I think it's just a van. I don't think it was designed to be like, hey, we really need to load out this van so that it does more than van shit.
Right, exactly. But unfortunately, these women have failed in their assassination attempt, so they have to contact Bakalo, who is here in Japan right now.
Oh yeah, we finally see him. We kept hearing his name, so this is the uncle that murdered the former king, leaving the child king here, and probably also wants to kill the child king too, so that he can become the king.
Well, there's no probably about it. That's what he's trying to do.
Anyway, he's here now. We see him now. Although, he also has some other dude that, quite frankly, why is this other guy here?
Well, he's the lackey. He's the guy that he tells, go do the thing for me, because I'm going to be king.
We at least learn very quickly his name is Schmidt.
And admittedly, this is a very white-looking guy, blonde hair, glasses. He looks like the asshole you would see in most 90s action movies.
So he's the guy that answers the phone like, what the fuck, you guys failed? Well, keep working at it. Don't fail again or something.
And Bakalo overhears this and is like, I told you hiring women wasn't a good idea.
Yeah, but we hired the women because we thought it would get to Rio, which almost worked last week.
It did almost work.
It almost worked, except Rio is like a cockroach. That's the only problem.
He's a horny cockroach.
Yeah, and he survived an exploding car, so...
In any case, Schmidt manages to convince Bakalo to let him continue trying to get the kid killed. And he's like, alright, fine, we'll let you try that. And he's like, okay, and remember, when we finish this and I succeed, you're gonna promote me to head of intelligence, right? Yes?
The CIA of Fake Land. Wherever that is.
Wherever that is, which... To be fair, to bring up again for this episode, they kept saying it, Republic of Founda, multiple times last episode. The country is never again named dropped in this episode.
Oh, crazy.
So it's almost like they didn't want to bother remembering what they called the country.
'Cause really, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
It genuinely does not matter.
Like, they generate the names of countries based off Wordle. That's how they do this. Incorrect Wordle answers.
They shake up a game of Boggle and then just start picking...
Yes, that's probably more accurate for the time period.
Yeah.
And now we're out in the forest, somewhere where there's a lot of loud birds and apparently a cuckoo bird out there.
Yeah, because you can just hear a whoop, 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 whoop.
And we hear all of these birds. Rio is out, and he's got what do they call it? A
day bag?
No. There's a specific word that preppers use, like a bug out bag.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Which I
sure.
imagine Rio must have a bunch of those. Bags that you have at the ready in case shit goes sideways.
Yeah.
Which I don't have one, but I understand the importance of one.
Sure, okay.
And it's like, all right, kid, we're gonna go out to the school of men. Now walk through this damn forest because I'm not carrying your ass.
I'm not walking! Okay, fine, see you later. Rio just leaves this kid's ass off in the woods by himself, and the kid gets scared by fucking rabbits. Alright, so...
And birds, and rocks crumbling next to him.
Okay, the rock falling from overhead was pretty scary, but, the rock didn't fall until he got spooked by the bunny, and then he started chasing after Rio. And when he's walking alongside Rio, that's when this rock falls, and he's like, ah! And he grabs onto Rio's leg, and Rio's like, now you're scared, huh? No!
Also, my feet are getting tired. Carry me. No. Oh, well, if you don't carry me, you're gonna get the guillotine. Fine, go for it. Here's my neck.
Yeah, who's gonna bring out this guillotine, kid? You? Is it gonna be you?
Did you bring a guillotine? No, you didn't. Because you're 8.
No, he can't do anything on his own.
And Nalio's there, trying to, get at Rio. What's he gonna do to him? He's got, 3 feet and several hundred pounds on this kid. Or at least 100.
Several hundred? Yes, Rio is a 450-pound
Rio
man.
weighs as much as 4 log cabins. Which is where they're ending up.
At least at one log cabin.
One log cabin.
Well, I don't even know if it's log. Okay.
No, it's log.
It's log? It's wood?
Yes, it's wood.
But is it logs?
It's log. It's log. It's better than bad. It's good.
Okay, great.
And we're talking about this here, who paid for this lodging here? Who does this lakeside cabin belong to? Is it Rio?
I genuinely believe it belongs to Rio. Now, it might not have originally belonged to Rio, because you were postulating the idea of, well, maybe it belonged to Makimura at some point, which is entirely possible. Well, it doesn't anymore. This is definitely Rio's cabin now. And I'm just sitting here, trying to calculate, oh my god, how much shit does this man own? He's got an entire apartment building. He's got a garage full of vehicles. He has a shooting range underneath the apartment building. And he has a cabin out in the woods.
A lakeside cabin.
It is a lakeside cabin. Does he own all of this land that it's on?
So here's what I came up with. If it was anything, because we had this conversation earlier on in the podcast, that our headcanon is most of the stuff that makes City Hunter work was all Makimura's doing. He did the books, he made sure Rio was stocked up with everything he needed, and they're constantly broke now because Hideyuki is not there to do it.
That's entirely possible, and I guess Hideyuki never told his sister, hey, if you ever need to get at any of this stuff, here's where you can find it. Because he probably didn't even want her involved in that world in the first place.
Cowdy barely knew what they did for work. Mm-hmm. Up until, the episode he died.
Right.
From being shot.
To death.
To death, yes, correct. We here at the podcast need to remind you, he's very dead. Hideyuki Makimura, he's very dead.
Sometimes he's a ghost.
And sometimes ghost. So here at the cabin, Ryo is telling him, all right, this is where boys become men and the men become even more men and we're going to work together to be men. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to clean up around here. You're going to sweep, and after you're done sweeping, go clean up that bed. Make your bed.
So Nalio does go over to the bed, pulls the blanket back, and there's a porno mag there. Great porno mag, by the way. This is
Play Hunter.
Play Hunter. Oh, that's so good.
And I love the way Ryo's freaking out here. His face is priceless. Like, oh, you shouldn't be looking at that. That's not for little boys. I don't care if you're a king. That's not for you. That's for adults.
But Nalio is over here like, wait, why is this a problem? Everybody in my harem is naked all the time.
And Ryo, again, with the best bug eyes I've seen in a while, is like, what? Your harem's naked? Oh my god, that's what I want. I mean, you shouldn't be looking at that, small child. It's unhealthy for your age. And he's like, it is? Really? Nobody's ever told me that.
Well, I mean, who's gonna tell the king
Yeah.
you shouldn't have naked women?
But at the same time, I'm like, I wonder about the dad that's no longer with us.
Yeah, that,
See, we never addressed that last episode.
because it sure doesn't seem like there was a queen.
And also, like, it's not like the kid decided for himself, I imagine. Somebody had to set up the harem for him.
Oh, sure, I imagine that this harem already existed. Yes, you have a harem, but is it because you as an 8-year-old asked for one, or is it because you inherited a harem from your dad?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And now that the bed has been made, Ryo very much makes it a point to teach this boy, hey, if you don't work, you don't eat. If you're hungry, we gotta go and do the one thing that most people hate in video games. We have to fish.
Oh no, there's a lot of people that love fishing in video games. I hate fishing
I
in
hate
video
fishing
games.
too, though.
I really do not like fishing in video. Of course, I also do not like fishing in real life. You know, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before in the past. When I was growing up, I lived on a river in Canyon Lake, Texas, right? The backyard had a river in it. The entire time we lived down there, never once did I fish in our backyard on the river. Now, mind you, it's also because the river became like, the edge was really precarious and it was kind of dangerous to stand there. We didn't have a dock or anything. Also, there were a bunch of downed trees just floating
Now,
around in the water.
I could be misremembering, but there were offers for me to go fishing when I was very young, and we would go to visit Gardner State Park.
Oh, Gardner State Park, yeah.
And as a kid, I didn't want to go fishing because it was too much work.
Yeah, I've tried fishing one time with, it might have been a church group. We all went out someplace to fish, and guess what? My fishing line got caught in some downed trees. Never caught a fish. Miserable, hated it, never wanted to do it again.
Yeah, so that tracks. And between the two of them, clearly Ryo is the better fisherman. He's already caught 5 before Nalio even gets a bite on his line. He's like, haha, you suck.
But Nalio gets one. Like, he actually gets a pretty big fish, and Ryo offers to help him pull it in, and the kid's like, no, it's my catch, I'm gonna bring it in. And he does it. Like, he pulls it up and he, like, catches it between his hands. I got one!
That's a pretty decent size. What was it, like a bass or a catfish looking?
I don't know, something about that size.
I mean, I'm wondering, do they have
It's not
catfish?
a catfish, though, because catfish have whiskers, which is
It
why
looked
it's a
like it had
catfish.
whiskers.
I don't think it had whiskers.
Oh, I'm not going to go back and double check. It's a fish. And so Nalio's like, all right, I caught a fish. Make it for me. Prepare it. And Ryo's like, you got to learn how to do that because if we've already taught you fishing, well, now we need to teach you the next thing a man's got to know. Fire.
And Ryo's like, all right, we're gonna pick up all these sticks so that we can start making fire. And Nalio's like, what do I need all these little sticks for? I'm just gonna get one really big stick. And he pulls a branch directly off of a tree, then tries to put it in this little fire pit that they've both built their own separate fire pits. I imagine he like mimicked Ryo's fire pit. And he starts trying to light this thing. It's smoking a little bit, but he's like coughing, like he's breathing too hard. He really can't get it to start. And only at this point does Ryo go, yeah, you can't start a fire with green stuff like that because it's too wet. Because you just pulled it directly off the tree and the tree's been drinking, right? The tree's got water in
The
it.
tree is drunk right
The tree
now.
is drunk.
And you can't do anything while you're drunk.
Well, you can't do anything with a drunk tree. So you have to have dry, dead branches that'll actually catch fire, and you have to strike it with tinder. And the kid's like, why didn't you tell me that sooner? You could have started with that. But Rio's like,
you didn't ask.
You didn't ask. You gotta start asking how to do shit. And that's when Nalio's kind of finally starting to figure out, if I need to know how to do anything, I just need to let this guy actually tell me how to do things.
And I just wanted to point out here, from looking at a side profile of Nalio, we described his clothing, but we didn't really describe how he looks. And if I had to compare him to some other anime character, he looks like Sage of the Halo from Ronin Warriors, just when he was 8 years old. He's got the same kind of hair.
Oh, kind of. Yeah, I understand.
So if this kid learns how to be a man, eventually he could grow up to be a Ronin warrior or a samurai trooper, depending on...
Ronin warriors.
Yeah, how's that for a throwback? And now that night has fallen, Ryo is teaching him the next thing he needs to learn, which is how to protect your domicile. And the way we do that is by setting up traps. And Ryo's like, alright, you want to learn how to do this for yourself? He's like, yeah. Alright, you're a little kid, you're 8 years old. We've only been out here a couple hours. Hold this knife.
It's a pretty large knife, too.
Yeah,
it's
like this Rambo-sized knife.
Hunting knife, yeah.
Yeah. And Nalio has to learn the hard way. Don't use the serrated edge to cut away from you. You gotta use the flat edge so you can sharpen this thing right. And so it looks like they're doing it. They're going over this stuff, and Ryo's trying to ask, hey, so while you're here learning how to sharpen this, tell me, what else do you do with your harem? Oh, I bathe with them, and they sleep with me, and it's great. It's like, ooh, just give me a little bit of time. I'm gonna get that for me.
Waiting for that payment in ladies.
Like, Ryo's out here like, Lord, I've seen what you've done for others, and I want you to do that for me. And so, like, 3 weeks go by, right?
Right.
And I'm surprised that they let them be out there that long.
Yeah, like, the guy guarding the king is Gliss. He's like, are you sure they're fine out here? It's been 3 weeks. And I really am like, you just let the king be off without contact with anyone for 3 weeks? The king?
And the thing about it is, they kind of know, or at least Cowdy has to know where they are, because she's going to end up where they are in a little bit here. But it's surprising that they were able to go that long without getting tracked.
Right.
You know, if there wasn't some other way to do that. Also, bringing that up, one, I'm surprised Gliss isn't happier that he's gotten 3 weeks off.
At the same time, who is running the country right now?
I don't know.
Because it seems to me like the uncle would be the next one running the country if the king has been missing for 3 weeks.
I mean, I don't think he's in a position to where he could, because he's just like a retainer. Retainers can't hold positions of power like that.
I mean, I don't know.
Like you'd have to have like a chancellor or somebody else to defer that to, you know?
I mean, maybe they gave instructions to somebody like, don't let any shit go down while we're gone. We'll tell you when we're coming back.
I mean, maybe. Or maybe they're just pretending somebody's still in the castle and like the king is sick and we'll be back.
But who is making sure the country operates?
I don't know. But like we said earlier, the art has gone back to normal for everybody except Cowdy, in which case, not only does she look normal, she looks way cuter than normal.
She looks great. Yeah, this outfit looks very modern. She's got this off-the-shoulder shirt and, like, a black tank top underneath, jeans, and some, like, brown, nice-ish kind of fashion boots.
And her eyes are a lot bigger than normal. Her hair's a little more styled.
Big anime girl eyes going on right now. Yeah, they've got her dressed in modern, cute-looking clothes that I would still consider cute today, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so here's something we didn't know. Not only did we not know that Ryo has a cabin in the woods. That's one thing. The other thing we did not know is that Ryo, on top of everything else that he owns, a cabin, a gun range, a whole-ass building, I don't know how many Mini Coopers, he also has messenger pigeons.
So he has sent a messenger pigeon, and I'm just like, this man knows how to send messenger pigeons? And Kaori receives the messenger pigeon and is like, oh, it's a message from Ryo. Like, she was waiting for this to happen. Kaori knows about Ryo's messenger pigeons?
So we gotta stop here and have this conversation now, because it's like, who takes care of the messenger pigeons? Were they out at the cabin? Who goes out to feed them at the cabin? Were they there at the apartment? Who's feeding them there? Is it Cowdy? Is it Ryo? Where did we get the pigeons, Kaylin?
I don't know. Do the pigeons live in the wild and then they know, oh, somebody's coming?
Did Makimura have them trained with like a whistle or something?
Pigeons don't even live that long, though. Like, how long has it been since Ryo's been out to this cabin in the woods?
3 weeks.
No. The last time, since
before this case, you mean?
Right. How often does he go out there to communicate with and continue to maintain the training of these pigeons. This doesn't make any sense, Josh.
But he just has that.
He has messenger pigeons, Josh.
Oh, messenger pigeons? He has those. This is a very specific deep cut just for us.
Yeah.
And you figure if you haven't been communicating very regularly, you're going to ask for a lot of things. You're going to provide a lot of information in that message. And all that Rio says is like, hey, bring girls and a change of clothes.
To which Kaori's like, okay, I guess I'll do that. Except for the girls part, that makes me upset.
And I don't understand what he's asking for.
Of
He
course
knows
he's
I
asking
wouldn't
for
bring
girls.
those.
So Kaori goes down to her car, which is still there, and she packs like a nightsack full of clothes and gets in the car and she drives off because she knows exactly where this cabin in the woods is. She knows where it is.
And the thing of it is, as soon as Cowdy gets on the highway, she's immediately tailed by the women in the van. Like they were waiting for somebody to make a move and now they're doing it because
as Kaori has left the building, Sayako and Gliss are still there, and Sayako has kind of said, well, don't worry, this is part of Ryo's plan. He knows exactly why it is that he's called Kaori out there to do this.
And so Cowdy doesn't realize this, and Ryo will mention this in just a moment, that when Ryo said bring girls, he means he knows the apartment is being watched.
Seems very likely this is true, and I think it does get kind of confirmed later.
Cowdy is basically bait.
Kaori doesn't know this, because sometimes she's a little unaware.
I mean, that's kind of by design in this particular case.
Sure.
Because, like, if she knew that she was being tailed, she might try to throw him off, and you don't want them to know that you're onto them.
But Kaori makes it down there to this cabin in the woods with a bag full of clothes, and is very mad at Ryo for asking for women.
And she goes looking for them in the cabin, nobody's there, but she hears a noise coming from out back, and we find Ryo teaching the boy how to dig a ditch.
Kid down at the bottom of a hole with a shovel, all dirty. I love the way Ryo lifts the kid up out of the hole, kind of like throws him into the air.
I've seen some dads do that with their kids.
Oh, it's a very dad kind of, leap up into the air, catch you, put you back down. All right.
My grandpa used to do that with me when I was about that age, or a little younger.
Kaori goes out into the back of the cabin, sees them doing this, and is just like, what are you doing here?
Like, we called you, Cowdy. That's what we're supposed to be out here. And she's looking at Nalio all dirtied up and immediately goes into, like, mothering mode.
Oh my god, what does Ryo have you doing out here? I'm gonna get you cleaned up. I'm gonna take you away from here. It's gonna be alright. At that moment, Nalio's like, look out behind you, it's a snake!
And he, like, chucks the survival knife. Like, he got to keep the survival knife.
He's got it, like, on his belt, like, at his hip. And he pulls it out of its little holster thing and throws it past Kaori, and it hits a tree, and there's not a snake there. It's just, like, vines growing up around the tree. And he's like, yeah, sorry, no, that wasn't a snake. And I'm just like, man, this kid cannot be making these kinds of mistakes and throwing knives around. He might hit the wrong thing.
But also, he's got accuracy now.
3 weeks training with a knife will do that.
Which, when you think about that, when you do knife training for, like, a movie or something like that, I think that's about the amount of time they give you to learn the skill.
That makes sense.
And inside the cabin, the kid, he's learned skills now. They're showing, not by him telling Cowdy what he's learned, we see him doing. Like, he's on the whetstone, sharpening this knife. Like, right. Oh, I just used it, gotta sharpen it again. And Cowdy's getting after Ryo like, oh my god, what have you done with this poor boy? What is he now? I'll tell you what he is. He ready.
He's ready to fight his own assassins. What do you mean fight his own assassins? The kid's like, yeah, Ryo told me that you were bringing them. I'm not bringing anybody. Oh, wait. There be women coming right now.
Exactly. So when he said women, bring girls, he meant the assassins. And for what it's worth, there's only 4 of them.
We only saw 3 at a time last time, I think.
Well, because it was the one on the roof, one in the car, and then the 2 that were faking they needed help with the tire.
Right, but we also said that the one on the roof looked like one of the 2 fixing the tire. So I feel like we only saw 3 out of the 4 of them last week. And now I think it's the girl in the pigtails with the dark blue long hair. I think she's new this episode.
Right. But yes, the girl's there. The assassins are now there in the woods. They're stepping through, and like you would figure in a lot of action movies, one steps on a branch. Ryo hears it, even though he couldn't hear the pin getting pulled out of the grenade last episode.
Yeah,
but he can hear a branch snap this week.
But now this cabin is shot the fuck up. Because these girls have some sort of automatic weapons.
They look like AK-47s.
Sort of, yes.
Except they don't have banana clips, they have long clips, but,
I mean,
don't let that trip you up.
It doesn't matter. This cabin is destroyed, alright? And somehow the people in it are not. Everything else in this cabin has been hit, except for the people in it, and there's nothing to hide behind here.
Like it's all wood. Like, I was already second-guessing hiding behind a wooden picnic table last week, but this is less reinforced wood because it's just been sitting out in the elements,
Right, exactly. And now everything is just gone. It's all gone. And the women start going in like, all right, we got to pull out our handguns and get in closer and really make sure that everybody in there is dead.
And for what it's worth, they go for their pistols that they have on their hips, and they all seem to have extended magazines, which means they've got extra bullets on them.
Right.
And it's like, man, you guys seem to have decent hardware, but we're going to see just how capable you are in a moment. So they get into the house and they see there's a hatch here and there's a tunnel under the house. Everybody, into the tunnel.
I found the tunnel, Johnson.
It's this way.
$25 for a cigarette is too much. It's a very specific Airplane quote.
Yes.
It's got nothing to do with anything, honestly.
We just love Airplane. And they come out back into the forest again, and like any episode of Scooby-Doo, you would learn this lesson, but nobody learns this lesson. Hey girls, let's split up.
Never split up. Don't ever do that.
And so the first one up is the girl with the green hair who kind of reminds me of Kione from Tenchi Muyo, because she's got the headband too.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, I can see it.
And mind you, Ryo did in fact complain when Cowdy got there about not being able to touch boobs or butt for the last 3 weeks, so he's gonna make up for it right now.
And he does an assault. He does a couple assaults today, and I'm wondering, like, when is this feels really inappropriate, but it's balanced out by the fact that they literally have tried to murder him a couple of times now at this point.
Yeah, they already tried to blow him up. They shot at him at the apartment.
They shot at him at the apartment. They put a grenade in that hospital room while he was still in the room.
Now they've shot up the cabin.
I'm not saying what he's doing is okay. I am just saying the women have tried to murder him, okay?
Which, again, is us saying assault is never okay.
And neither is murder, alright?
That having been said, he is grabbing this woman's boobs. And it seems to be the case that with all of these women, as soon as they are assaulted, all of their training goes out the window.
I guess they just never thought that they were ever going to get grabbed in that manner.
But see, here's the thing that I'm realizing. So, Schmidt, right? The guy, the lackey for Bacalo.
Sure.
Schmidt is aware enough of City Hunter to know I need to hire women because Ryo is weak against women. And I'm like, Schmidt, did you not do the rest of your homework to know what he does to women?
Well, maybe they just all assumed that they were so good that they were never gonna get their boobs and asses grabbed by this man. They were gonna be so good at it that somehow they were going to dodge it.
Okay, so you guys are not going to account for the thing this guy is most known for. He's known for exactly two things: amazing marksmanship and assault.
Yeah, so sexual assault happens here. This woman's boobs have been grabbed.
She immediately shoots at Ryo, and he like Bugs Bunny ducks out of the way with all these crazy hops, only to see that Nalio is right next to her with the knife like, hi!
Nalio cuts this trap, and she's now caught in a tiny net. And she has dropped the gun, and the gun hits the ground, and she's stuck in a net without her gun.
But, like, it's the way that she's trapped, because she's not like, hey, get me out of here, like, what the hell?
She's kind of kicking and writhing around with her arms all up at her chest. Oh no, I'm caught in a tiny net. Someone help me get out. Help me escape, I am in a net.
And it's like, really? Like, how much did they pay you get? Where do you get these women, Schmidt? And so we move on to the blonde woman, assassin, whoever. She gets her butt grabbed.
Ryo's rubbing his face all up in her ass.
His face is up in that ass. like you see the smush on his cheek.
Yeah.
Like, he is so overwhelmingly happy to have his face in some ass right now.
Oh my god.
Like, you see it on his face.
Yeah.
And same deal. The assault happens, and then she gets pushed into a pit by Nalio.
Because the assault happens, and she drops her gun, and she falls in a pit, yeah.
And then we move on to Aloha Kaori over here, and all that they did to her initially was just toss some caterpillars on her.
Yeah, caterpillars made her drop her gun.
And she's freaking out like, oh my god, I hate bugs! I hate bugs! And Ryo just tells her, oh no, you've got bugs on you. You need to take your shirt off. And she did it.
No, he pulled the jacket off of her.
Oh, no, you're right. He pulls the jacket off her. her, and then Nalio, like, ties her up.
To a tree.
And it's like, Nalio also learned rope skills on top of knife skills.
So that just leaves one of them left. So this is Pigtails Girl.
With the dark blue hair, yeah.
And she sees Nalio just sitting on a rock. He's like, man-spreading? For one thing, Rio taught this kid how to man-spread.
Which,
very,
great.
Very
You're
confident.
teaching the next generation. We feel so happy for the future.
I mean, that kid grew up to be the modern-day man-spreader on the train.
Yes,
right?
he
That's
did.
who that kid grew up to be. And the woman's got her gun in his face, like, okay, great, looks like you're not gonna run anymore. But the only thing he responds with is, so hey, what kind of underwear do you wear? And she's like, excuse me? Rio is behind her in a tree.
Up on a branch. And he's like, oh, I bet I know. It's pink with some kind of print on it.
And she's, again, like, excuse me? But Nalio is over here like, but we can find out. Throws his knife and cuts the belt off of it.
Yeah, cuts the gun belt off her waist.
Off her waist. And so her pants have fallen down. And that's all he's done is really just kind of embarrass her, right? But in the middle of being embarrassed and trying to pull her pants back up, she drops the gun.
And then Rio ties her up and pulls her up into the tree, where we can now see he was 100% correct about the guess.
How? Like, he has panty radar.
Yeah,
Okay?
he has developed Homer Simpson levels of the way Homer Simpson can smell the lettering on a birthday cake and hear fudge. Rio can spider sense what is on your underwear.
I like that they walk away, and Nalio, and I don't think he's thinking sexually in any way. I think he thinks things are funny, and he doesn't know why.
I would agree here, yeah.
He doesn't know why you would do things with women that you do when you're an adult. And so he's like, oh, well, we depantsed her. Should we take her underwear too? And Rio's walking with him like, no, even I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that far. And he's got a limit somewhere.
Well, yeah, it's the way he says it, though. The way it's delivered is very matter-of-factly, no, I wouldn't do that. And it's not like he's being funny about it. Like, he's saying it honestly. Which, yeah, even I'm surprised. Like, no, he does have a limit, which is to say everything that he does, he mostly does playfully or to a certain end. Which is not to say that that's not part of his personality.
Right.
That he's thinking about, being horny on main. But it is a little bit reassuring to see that he has a limit.
Thank God he stops somewhere.
And they get back to the cabin and, oh, look, Cowdy's the hostage again.
But Cowry's not taking it that seriously. She's just like, yeah, there's a gun pointed at my head. Sorry about that, guys. Whoops.
Yeah.
My bad.
Like, she's not
sorry.
She's not that scared. She's like, it happened again, my bad. Like, I locked my keys in my car. I accidentally forgot to bring milk home. I've got a gun to my head. It happens. You know what it is. It's Tuesday.
Can we take care of this? Let's just we screw up every once in a while, but we can fix this. This is fixable.
And to his credit, Nalio steps to his uncle, because they're both out there, both Schmidt and the uncle, to be like, haha, now turn over the kingdom to us. And Nalio steps up and he's like, no, you want me? Come get me. Kill me. I'm a man, you kill me. He's like, all right, get over here. And Nalio starts stepping to him, like he's gonna do something to him.
And then Cowrie goes for Schmidt's gun. She's like, okay, they're focused on the kid. I'm gonna come in here and grab the gun out of Schmidt's hand. Now, it doesn't work. Schmidt is just like, hey, what the fuck? And then knocks her to the ground. So now he's about to shoot Cowrie for real because she just tried to lunge at him. And now Rio has to step in.
Which he normally does, because that's given enough room for Schmidt's focus to be on Cowrie, Bacalo's focus to be on Nalio, so Rio can just go ahead and quick draw, shoot the gun out of Schmidt's hand.
He might have even shot Schmidt's hand, because his hand is a little reddened after that shot.
Oh, I mean, that's gonna hurt if it gets shot out of your hand.
Sure.
I mean, if you want a headcanon that he shot him through the hand, it's not like Rio hasn't done that before.
He's at least grazed his hand, maybe.
At minimum.
Sure. That would make me drop whatever I was holding. If some bullet grazed my hand, I would drop something.
And at the sound of the gunshot going off, Bacalo's like, hey, what the fuck? And that leaves Nalio open to go ahead and cut some traps to activate them. And apparently, during that 3 weeks, they watched the movie Predator out in the forest, and they have set up all these, yeah, I'm over here, kill me, traps to, have crossbows set up, and spikes, and a whole ass tree.
A tree collapses on both of these men, and I'm just like, their rib cages are gone.
They might not be able to walk.
Yeah.
Can you stand trial if you can't stand?
Oh my god. Yeah, these guys really got Greg Abbotted, honestly.
Oh, Jesus! I mean, yeah, get wrecked. So, now, at this very moment, now that the thread is gone, Sayako and Gliss are now out here in the forest.
Oh, yeah, they came along, too.
I gotta get the laugh out for this.
I mean, fuck that guy.
God bless. Oh, man. But yeah, we're wrapping up now. Gliss is out here like, oh, my young master, it's so happy to see you.
It's so happy to see
I'm so happy to see you. You, whatever. We're reunited again.
Once again, I don't understand this. Nalio's like, hey, Sayako, so can you arrest these guys? And Sayako's like, yes, we will do that right away. And I'm just going, once again, where does your jurisdiction end? She's been able to arrest people in, I assume, Yokohama.
Uh-huh.
She's been able to arrest people in international waters.
Yes,
She's
apparently.
able to arrest people out in the fucking forest. This is not Tokyo. How far does her jurisdiction go that she can arrest people basically literally anywhere on the planet?
She just has jurisdiction wherever she goes. She's like Interpol, but not Interpol.
Is she secret Interpol and we've just never been told this?
See, like, that would be a thing that I would almost write into another adaptation is, say she's Interpol.
Right.
Say that's what it is. That way we can make sense of why she has the jurisdiction to arrest somebody anywhere. But the case has been closed. We can say that's the end of that chapter. So what do? We go back to the airport.
Oh boy, we're back at Narita. Woo!
And we see Kaori and Sayako there. Kaori's wearing the receptionist fit again. And they're seeing off Nalio, who's back in his Prince Charming outfit. And they're saying, well, we said that Ryo could come with us back to the country that we come from. Where's he at? Where he at?
Oh, he said he was coming. I don't know. Oh, wait, there he is. And he's coming up carrying truckloads. Like, he's got several bags full and a backpack.
And like a bandolier.
Of that energy drink we've seen him drink once, maybe twice this entire show run of this Mokkori energy drink.
Mokkori drink, like Super H Mokkori drink.
It's got advertisements written on it about, oh, it'll give you energy, and
it's a home run.
It's a home run, and stuff like that.
And it's got real, like, corner store boner pill energy.
Yeah, I mean, it's that. I think that's what we said about it the last time too. Like, yeah, it's an energy drink, and you could just drink an energy drink. I've tried a lot of energy drinks, sure, but like this one promising you that you will just have all of this energy for boner times. That is exactly the energy that comes along.
This is the Blue Chew of 1989, is what we're telling you.
Yikes!
And Ryo's like, "Oh, I'm ready to bang. I'm here. Let's go."
Because I hear that you guys don't have this drink in whatever the fuck this country is.
The Republic of Founda.
You know, overseas somewhere in country that is not Japan.
Not Japan, right. So, let's go over this one more time. So, how's this gonna work? Like, when do I get the harem? Do I get them when I get off the plane? Do we need to go, like, drop off bags first?
Are they on the plane right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm really just trying to plan my schedule out accordingly. Like, do I need to knock back a couple of these now?
So, Gliss has to, like, really cut him off here. Like, oh, no, bro. The king decided to disband his entire harem.
He abolished harems.
He abolished harems.
And he's no longer engaged to Sayako.
Oh, yeah, that happened. He'd been engaged to Sayako.
And Nalio's over here telling Ryo, well, yeah, don't you remember? You taught me the value of valuing women. You taught me that in the forest. So of course I was going to disband and abolish the harem.
Yeah, I learned it from you. So now Ryo
I learned it from you, Ryo.
I learned it by watching you. So Ryo now has to live with the fact that he just kind of demolished his own payment.
He cock-blocked himself.
He did this. The reason he doesn't get a harem is because he did it to himself.
And he taught the kid, don't do this.
Which, you know, it's shocking that the kid learned that specifically from Ryo.
Yeah.
Out of anything he could have learned, he learned to leave women alone?
Which I guess
is...
I mean, when you look at it in a certain light, of course you would learn to leave women alone from watching Ryo.
Yeah, but he doesn't know the difference between right and wrong necessarily. So, like, if he witnesses things, he just thinks that he's allowed to do the things that he's witnessed.
And on top of all of this, it's the fact of payment, right? Sayako roped him into this, so Sayako's never paid him, not once. And Nalio and Gliss are over here like, well, we're not going to give you the thing we promised initially. we have reneged on this verbal agreement, but you can take a free trip to the Republic of Founda.
In fact, they start picking him up with, apparently they have bodyguards.
Like 3 bodyguards.
That they've just had this entire time, I guess, except we've never seen them until right now. And they're dragging his ass onto this plane like, no, you're coming with us.
And they take off on Sunrise Airlines this week.
Oh, look, the lead animator of this episode remembered to use the correct spelling.
And of course, because Ryo is not going to get the thing he wants, even though they are taking off, they are in ascent right now, he had the wherewithal to either bring with or find on the plane a parachute and jump the hell out of the plane.
I love how Sayako's like, oh, of course he jumped out of the plane, and Kaori replies with, yeah, it's just like the last time this happened.
Because remember, this is the second time Ryo has had to jump out of a plane because he realized he wasn't going to get the Mokkori times he was promised.
And you had to remind me what the last time was. And the
Right,
last
it was
time...
with Kaori's flight attendant friend, with all of the dudes on the plane. They were all going to have a group communal date with her in France. And when he realized he wasn't going to have any alone time with her, he jumped off the plane then.
That's right. Yeah, that's how that happened.
And again, that brings up the whole thing of like, okay, so not only does he have the cars, not only does he have the apartment, not only does he have the lodging, he also has a parachute budget.
I mean, I feel like the parachute budget is understandable compared to a bunch of cars, a cabin in the woods and potentially the land that it sits on, and a shooting range under his apartment building. I think he can manage to fit a parachute into that.
But still,
Enough-
how many assets does he have?
Enough for a messenger pigeons?
And a messenger pigeon budget! I almost forgot the messenger pigeons! And anyway, we see the plane take off without Ryo, everybody's leaving the airport, Kaori looks really cute, and that's the end of the episode.
You know, it ended up okay, actually.
Yeah, in all, the episode evens out because I think between this two-parter, I would recommend this in that we do see that someone is, in fact, learning a lesson from Ryo to not be like Ryo.
Right.
Or when he can get across a moral, you actually took it at face value, I shouldn't treat women as objects.
See, that's why we need an asshole like Ryo so that you learn from him. Don't be like this fucking guy.
Which is, again, why we should teach media literacy.
Yeah, that is very true. Which is why, like, I recently, within the last couple of weeks, had somebody say, oh, I can't believe you like this show. And I'm like, you really don't understand. Like, we're not saying to be this guy, because if this guy was a real guy, I would hate this guy.
We say that up front in episode 0.
Yes, exactly.
And we say it continually in every episode where it comes up, which is just about every episode.
Correct.
Except, like, the one episode where he didn't assault anybody.
It's happened a couple of times.
I think it's happened twice.
Yeah, let's remember the times. He
You remember the time?
Vaguely.
Okay, at least somebody does.
We'll just go find our own podcast episodes and we'll remind ourselves.
Exactly.
With our own voices.
Right.
Yeah.
And so next time, like we said at the beginning of the episode, we are not going to cover the next episode, which has something to do with a magician.
Magician!
We are going to cover the first of several City Hunter movies.
Animated films. A bunch of animated films would come out after this point.
Right, because we haven't gotten to the live action stuff just yet. We are going to cover 357 Magnum, which again fits in with the aesthetic of City Hunter 1 and 2.
Because this was also the order of release, right? Like right after this episode that we just finished talking about aired, after that, 357 Magnum released, and then after that, the next episode of City Hunter 2 aired. So
so this aired in between episodes.
Right,
or this was
correct.
released in between episodes.
Correct. And so this, I believe, was where the American localization company ADV had kind of started picking up City Hunter licenses, right?
Uh-huh.
For whatever reason, ADV was like, what's a good starting place for City Hunter? How about movies where you need a bunch of context, but we're not going to give you that context?
Well, admittedly, the movies, you don't need a ton of context. You just need the littlest bit of, this is the baseline of who these characters are.
Sure.
This is who Ryo is, Kaori, Sayako, Umibozu, Miki. That's really all you need to know. And you can do that in about 5 minutes.
So what we're gonna need to do, though, is because this is where ADV, again, ADV no longer exists very technically. They've now basically become Sentai.
Sentai Filmworks.
Oh, and I think Sentai has dropped the Filmworks part of it.
Did
now
they?
That I think I'm gonna have to check. I'll come back to this next episode. We're gonna have to watch this movie twice because ADV did an English dub.
Is this one of the ones that got dubbed or isn't it?
I mean, I asked you to look it up and check.
I'll go check.
I asked you to check, and you said, yes, there's a dub. That's what you told me.
Hang on, I'm going.
Now I gotta log in. 357 Magnum? There it is. Dubbed.
Okay.
And let me just... Yes? Yeah, that sounds like English
Yeah, that's
to me.
a dub. Okay, yeah, so just double checking here. So yes, in fact, there is a dub, so we are going to have to watch this thing twice.
Yeah, good old ADV. So we're gonna have to introduce you to Joe Saiba.
Oh, God.
And all of his Nookie.
Oh, God. Nookie. This is where Nookie gets introduced.
This is where we have to introduce Joe Saiba and Nookie. Also, Cowrie's name is something else. God, I don't remember what her name is.
I was going to say Laura, but I'm like, no, that's the French one.
I would sooner say she's Laura than she is whatever the fuck her English name. I don't know what her English name is.
Well, that's for next week.
Yeah, we'll learn it next week, I guess. I don't give a fuck what the English
We'll
names
come
are.
back to it. It's going to be a thing.
This is a big... Yeah, we really need to push next week's episode, because this was a big jumping on point for a lot of Americans.
Yes.
And it unfortunately did not take off at the time nearly as well as I think ADV really wanted.
No, and I think really it's only just recently that City Hunter is finally starting to pick up with popularity. I think kind of like us, a lot of people just kind of got into it during the pandemic because they needed something to watch.
Right, and just a bunch of other media has come out since, like brand new City Hunter animated film, brand new French City Hunter film, like stuff
That's a Karazuka musical.
So there have been more recent entrance points that have made people curious, and so in the last 5 years, people are like, hey, you remember City Hunter? What about that thing? Why don't we go back and look at that thing? And I don't think this is because of the previous attempts at releasing the manga or ADV trying to release the anime. I don't think either one of those did a good enough job, and only as of late are we really doing a better job of that. Anyway, next week, introduction to ADV shit. It's gonna be a trip.
Yeah, and that one's probably gonna be a longer episode. I don't know if we're gonna have to split it up.
I don't know.
But we'll see come next week.
So come back next time when we cover the first animated City Hunter film, 357 Magnum.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always follow us both on most social media. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 110th episode of MokkoriPlay.
And if you don't come back next episode, I'm not getting Kaylin any popcorn.
Oh, can I at least get the movie theater pickle?
You can have the pickle.
Yeah!
But just one pickle.